Most people will not get to 12% body fat if they're not doing at least 15,000 steps.
You need to be eating smart as well. So, for example,
What's going on YouTube, it's Jason, and in this video, we're going to be discussing how to get to 12% body fat. Now, if you are truly 12% body fat, not just using your clever scales or some body fat test at the gym, but I'm talking about like somebody trained with calipers or on DEXA scan, for example, you are very, very, very lean, like cover model, movie star lean, super lean, aesthetic by most people's standards, and in my view, the lowest level that average Joe should ever be. I don't see why average Joe has a justifiable reason to be a true 10% body fat. To give you an idea of how lean this is, I'll show you the differences between my body when I was at different body fat levels. Now, I haven't been 20% body fat for like 16 plus years, but this was me at 18% on DEXA scan, which would have been about 15-16% on calipers. This was me at 15% on calipers, and this was me at 12%. So you can really see the aesthetics, abs, chest, all the muscles are showing. This is truly aesthetic, and 99% of men will never get here. And it's really lean. It really is what they call the Greek god aesthetic. So I want to go through the things that you need to be aware of to get to 12%, and hopefully you can make an informed decision about whether or not this life is for you. Point number one is nutrition. Now, these points are not in any order, but this particular point is first for a reason. This is the most important part of this entire video. If you don't know your nutrition, you can wave goodbye to 12% body fat. Matter of fact, that's the reason the majority of people never get here. So under the umbrella of nutrition, there are three parts. Number one is refeed days. This is where you increase your calories to maintenance and also increase your carbohydrate intake. You want to have these every 7 to 10 days, depending on how lean you are. This is very different from a cheat day, which I'll go through in a bit, because cheat days, you increase everything, fats, carbs, and everything else, and your calories are out of control. In terms of macro breakdown, you want to keep your fats to around 15% of your total calorie intake. You want to drop your protein round about 10% because you don't need as much if your carbs have been increased. And then you want your carbohydrate intake to be around 60 to 65% of your total calories. The reason we do refeed days is number one, mental, because if you've been dieting for a while, you'll get more hungry than normal and you're more likely to crave or binge. Knowing that you have a refeed day coming is going to help you stay on course. And number two is energy. If you've been dieting for a while and calories are down, you can get a bit sluggish with your sessions and feel overall fatigued. And so boosting your calorie intake and carbohydrate intake for one day can help intensify training sessions. Now, the second part of nutrition is cheat days. Now, I get asked a lot by people that are dieting, when can I have a cheat day? I'm dying for a cheat day. Going back to what I said in the last video, you have to stop thinking like a fat person if you want to get lean. Cheat days aren't really an option because they're just too risky. Yes, you can calorie budget, but when you get down to those levels of body fat, like 13 and 12%, you are going to feel more tired and more hungry anyway. And so a massive cheat day could just set you off and basically cause you to rebound. And so what I do instead is have cheat meals. So the cheat meal number one should be around 20% of your total calorie intake, like this cookie, for example. And number two, they should work within your daily calorie goals. So if you're trying to get, say, 2,000 calories for the day, this should work within that. We shouldn't be going, to 3,500 if we can avoid it, as I said, because we want to avoid the rebound. And the final part under nutrition is eating low calorie dense foods. A lot of people think about fat loss in terms of eating less and moving more, which is fine in the initial stages, but if you're looking to go down to really low levels of body fat, like 12% for men, 20% for women,
you need to be eating smart as well. So for example, if I wanted chicken and I'm looking to lose body fat, I could have chicken thighs, which are fine, but chicken breast is half the calories. If, for example, I was looking at having some fruit, then I could have bananas, but raspberries and blueberries would be a lot less calories. So what you want to do ideally is stick to steak, breast and fillet forms of meat and fish, and then you want to look at carbohydrate sources like oats, and then fruit and veg. Like I always remind people, you know, they say eat 5 portions of fruit and veg a day. That is a minimum. So the more the merrier. Look to pack out your calories with nutritious sources. And you know, even something like prawns, for example, it's a very lean, low calorie seafood. So we do need to eat smart if we want to keep our calories low and continue to lose body fat. Now I know there'll be people at home saying steak, breast, fillet, isn't that expensive? It doesn't have to be. When I was at university, I was earning a mere £500 a month, and I was able to eat mostly like that. I did a video covering how you can eat well on a budget. Definitely check it out. Number 2, the average Brit is eating out once or twice per week, right? So if you're getting Deliveroo for 10 or 15 quid or going to Nando's, you can afford to eat well. Eating healthy is slightly more expensive, I'm not gonna pretend, but the issue is that people want convenience and to also tick the box of eating healthy. If you don't have money, frankly, you can't do that. You may have to go to different shops, but you can do it. Point number 2, and this is a super important point to mentally prepare for, that fat loss is not linear. When you are heavier with a higher body fat, your fat loss is a lot more predictable. As you get leaner, your body is less willing to give over body fat, and so fat loss is going to be slower. Prepare for that, it's going to happen. What you need to do is look at your 2-week and your 4-week trends. I always say week to week, your weight might not go down or it might go down a little bit, but trends do not lie. 2, 4, 6 weekly trends will tell you whether or not you're going in the right direction. The second part of this point is that as you get leaner, like for a man below, let's say 15% body fat and below, the scale becomes a lot less important. When you're like 25 or 30% body fat, your scale tells you what you need to know. Like if you have a high body fat and the scale says you're overweight, you're probably overweight in most cases. As you get leaner, what you will find is that 2 weeks might go by and your weight hasn't changed much, but you can see a difference in the mirror, or you look leaner, or your measurements have gone down. And so I say the leaner you get, the more you need to rely on the mirror and your waist measurement as kind of measures of how well you're doing, because you're gonna see a lot more body composition changes as you get leaner. Number 3 is training. I mentioned this in previous videos, but as you are getting leaner, you want to keep your training intensity the same. Once you get to 15% body fat and you are trying to get to like 12% body fat, I would drop your training volume by about 20 to 25%. So if you're doing 4 sets, now do 3 sets. Let's be real, you're not going to be building muscle when you are this lean. In 99% of cases, you're just thinking about muscle preservation. And so you want to just train efficiently, still train hard, but just reduce your volume. Point number 4 is steps. Now there is no official number of steps that you must do to get to 12% body fat. In theory, you can just adjust your calories and steps as you see fit. But in practice, in over 10 years as a coach, most people will not get to 12% body fat if they're not doing at least 15,000 steps. And that's because the nutritional discipline needed to get to 12% without doing something like 15,000 steps a day is just too much for most people. So if you are 15% body fat and trying to go down to 12 and you're not doing 15,000 steps per day, now might be the time to bump it up. If you're already doing 15,000 steps per day, then you might want to go to like 17,000. Point number 5 is sleep. I want to keep this one short and snappy. If you are in a season of your life where you are not able to get 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep per night, I wouldn't even bother trying to get to 12% body fat. I mean it. If this is your first time, you are going to be dealing with abnormal levels of hunger and fatigue, and a lack of sleep is just going to compound those issues. If you ask me, I would wait for a better time in life where your ducks are in a row. And point number 6 is get a coach, get accountable. If you're one of these people that would love to get to 12% body fat and would love to see their abs but have never seen them before, and you've been trying for 5, 10, 15 years, there is clearly something missing in the chain. Doing the same thing and expecting a different result is insanity. I always tell my clients there is a reason why a movie star, when they're preparing for a movie, gets a personal trainer and nutritionist, because they can't essentially afford for it to go wrong. They want to get there as efficiently as possible, and they want to make sure they get over the line. If this is you and you'd like to get to 12% body fat for the first time, click the link in the description below for more information. But yeah, that's everything. Don't forget to watch my 2 videos before this, how to get to 15% body fat part 1 and part 2, because that will talk you through how to get from like 25% to here. Hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. Don't forget to like it if you did. Comment below and let me know how you're getting on your journey. Please subscribe to my channel to follow me on this journey, and I'll see you again soon.